Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It is a brand new episode of UFC Banter. And this week on the show, we are talking about UFC 327, Dateline, Miami. It's all going down. We got a light heavyweight title fight that's going to be the main event of the evening. We're all fired up about that one. Should be a violent affair. And we got plenty of other great fights to discuss from the very beginning, the early prelims, all the way on up. And you guys know we can't go it alone. We got a great guest, a friend of the show, a returning champion, so to speak, none other than Tim Troiano, my friend and yours. Welcome back, Tim. How are you, brother?
Doing great, man. Great to chop it up. I'm excited to chop it up with you here. Great card. Pumped.
I absolutely love it, dude. We got the sharpest chat in the game as well. I see some people already flooding in, and it's 12:17 local time. So I appreciate everybody who's rocking with us. I always say it's the night owls, right, at this time. And the night owls deserve the first breakdown of the night. Let's get right into it, my man. We got Charles Radtke taking on Francisco Prado. And Prado 1-4 in the UFC, my man. He's got a shitter get off the pot, right? And it's the kind of thing where Prado is one of these guys where the reason they keep him around, even though he doesn't have a winning record, is he goes out there, he fights hard. He's not looking for a way out. He goes out there to compete, and he's very young. We've seen a lot of guys come in, maybe struggle a little bit out the gates, but a lot of guys don't make it to the UFC at 23. They don't have that kind of experience. They don't get that opportunity. And so I think Prado, still learning on the job, still has to get better and grow and develop. Charles Radtke is a lot closer to a finished product, right? He's 35 years of age. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. You kind of know what you're going to get from Chuck Buffalo. And that means he can swing heavies on the feet. He can try to knock you out. And if he's not able to get to his shots on the feet, the danger factor is, he can be clipped on the return. He's not the most durable guy you've ever seen. We've seen him get into, some contentious exchanges on the regional scene. We've seen the same thing at the UFC level. Now, the tricky part is he's had, really tough fights where he kind of got smoked, and then he had really easy fights where he went out there and smoked somebody. And it's like, now he's kind of getting much more of what I would call an honest fight. Like, I think that Radtke's path to looking like he is the big favorite, he does dominate, is going back to the grappling like he did against Frunza, super aggressively. But I do think Prado is probably going to offer more resistance. I was not really big on Daniel Frunza's skill set at the UFC level, and maybe he can improve that. But Francisco Prado, on the other hand, trains with a good team. Seems like he's going to be working to get back up to his feet if he gets taken down. But the takedown defense is just bad, man. Nikolai Veretenikov's got like a 2-13 takedown ratio in the UFC. And the 2 takedowns he's got, to his credit, he took down Francisco Prado, man. And that's just like, you don't want that to be on your ledger. So ultimately, if I was to make somebody a favorite, I would go with Radtke because he's got the experience and he's got the grappling upside. But I think that you look at the market and it says plus 175 Prado ITD, and Radtke ITD is like plus 200, plus 220, and he's favored to win the fight. It's like they're telling you Prado's got a chance to go out there and finish this fight, go out there and knock Radtke out. And then if you're just asking me, Tim, like for a value look on this fight, I was surprised that Prado by decision was like 9-1, because Radtke, I don't think, has ever landed more than 30 some odd significant strikes in a UFC fight. And it's like, if they're just going to go out there and swing for 15 minutes, Radtke doesn't get these takedowns. Like Blood Diamond was defending some of these takedowns, by the way. What? It's like, these are the kind of things that make it like, who's to say Prado doesn't just, pull away on the strike count and win, an otherwise competitive decision. So for me, that's the way I'm kind of looking at this fight, man. Is if I like the Radtke side, I'm looking at the sub in terms of the prop. And then I think for the Prado side, I'm looking more towards, him to win by decision, because I think it's a little bit counterintuitive, unconventional. I think obviously that would be something you consider with the money line price as well. But how do you see this fight, my man? I'm curious. I think it's a fun fight to start us off, but also one of these fights that might actually end up going the full 15, where a lot of these fights, appear violent to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually agree with a lot of your takes on this. I think the only fighter that could be making improvements at this age is Prado. And I think he needs to make improvements in his game. Obviously, he hasn't shown to be really tremendously skilled at any of the arts, any of the martials here. And I feel like he's had the dog. Like he's been durable and he's kept coming forward. I think the level of his competition to start off being so young in the UFC is kind of, way too much, way too soon. And I think, like guys like Jake Matthews, I think they would shit all over Charles Radtke. You mentioned the Blood Diamond fight from a grappling perspective. I'm not sure that Radtke can, have tremendous success over and over, grappling in this fight. I do think that it's bad look for some of the guys that are getting Prado down, like you said as well. But I said in the LiamPicksFights just an hour or so ago, I said the same thing. I said the 9-1 on decision prop for Prado and 25-1 on his split decision are just wild, like just wild numbers. Like there's not one fight that I've seen, even in regionals, where Radtke is throwing like, or landing 50 shots in a fight that goes. Like it's 50 to 60 shots. Like he's always like 40, 45, 35, things like that. And, going big shots and trying to hit guys with bigger shots. I think Prado can take a lot of the big shots that he gives. I think the decision for Radtke is, like you said, a top time over and over and over, rinsing and repeat. But I mean, we haven't seen him tested cardio wise if he does that game plan either. So he's not a young guy at this stage or this weight class at 35. Guy's way younger, small for the division for Prado, so that's an issue. He's got T-Rex arms as well. But yeah, I like the decision and the split just at huge numbers. I just think that the line being for goes the distance, the line, and then looking at decision prop and saying, okay, so you're giving him like a less than 10% shot to win here. Like it doesn't make any sense.
I couldn't agree more, man. I'm glad we see it, the same way on that first fight of the night. That's something I was looking at, all week. I haven't actually pulled the trigger on, but maybe after the show, I'm going to have to ripcord that, because I've been looking at it. I've been thinking about it. It's like, you got to make a tough decision in this life. And I think that's one that I'll definitely be strongly considering. But with that being said, my brother, we can move to the next fight of the night. Boy, what do we have here? It's Kelvin Gastelum. It's Vicente Luque. It's going down in the middleweight division. It's the second prelim of the night. Need I say more? Tim, I'll actually send this one over to you first, my brother. How do you see this one going down? It's a interesting fight. Kelvin Gastelum back to being a big favorite. Does he deserve it? What do you think?
I think he kind of deserves it. If you're betting on Luque at this point, then you really like pain. I mean, you must enjoy it. He's not shown really anything that is even remotely close to the style of fighter that he's been over the past. And this is not a fight where he's got a guy where he's just going to be able to easily take him down and hold him down and sub him. Like it took 3 rounds for Sean Brady to sub Gastelum. Like Gastelum's not going to throw his head into a takedown, which is going to give him a front choke. It's just, it's just not a guy. Also, you add the southpaw effect. Luque has just seemed like he's clueless against southpaws. Bilal's fought him orthodox, got nuked, fights him southpaw. He seems like he's blind. Jeff Neal gave him the beating of a lifetime, southpaw. Kelvin Gastelum, southpaw. So I kind of think that this is a bad spot for Luque. The only thing that scares me is that, Gastelum, for what I would think is going to happen, like I think it's a clear Gastelum decision if it goes, but I think Gastelum's going to knock him out. What round, I'm not sure. I gave the late rounds in the LiamPicksFights, but I just think I think he's going to eventually connect on him and get him out of there. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it goes and it's just some stupid, he's just trying to keep the guy alive and knows he has a brain bleed. So the plus 180 or plus 190 that's on the KO is not super enticing to me because it's just a low number and I could see him stretching him out to a decision as well and not wanting to take years off his life or his life. How about you?
I think that this is an interesting one because when I listened to Vicente's interview, he didn't sound very defeatist or anything like that. Like he talked about I didn't want the reason I moved up to middleweight to be because I missed weight the week of the fight. I kind of just realized I'm getting bigger, I'm getting older. It's hard for me to make the weight as is. And if you guys remember, he once missed weight as the backup fighter for a title fight all but guaranteeing that he was not going to fight for the title like anytime soon. It was really unfortunate for his career, and you've kind of seen the trajectory it's taken ever since. But, you know, one thing that you could think of is like, man, cutting weight is not good for your brain, right? And it's like, if you're having problems with your durability and things like that, it was the one thing I considered when I was listening to his interviews. Like, he seems like a lucid guy, self-aware. He's training with tough guys. Like, you know, he just hasn't looked good in the cage. And I just believe cutting weight is a really difficult thing to do. And like, the older you get, it can be hard for these guys. Like, Luque was always a big body. Somebody said in the chat, it's kind of wild how Luque is moving up, yet he's got the 4.5-inch reach advantage. And obviously Kelvin also previously a welterweight, right? But when you look at a guy like Kelvin, you know, a lot of people were surprised he made weight. I was not surprised, right? If you look at Kelvin's Instagram, if you go back, like, he talked about, you know, I moved my whole life to the Vegas PI basically for this camp, like, to make sure that there's no fucking about, that I don't fuck up. And he made championship weight, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's like Kelvin really took this seriously, which I think is like a complete outlier for his whole career. You know, I do think there's a lot of lip service that Kelvin's paid in the past. Like, I'm going to try harder this time, and trust me, I care. But moving is like tangible. Like, I did something, like I inconvenienced myself. And Chael Sonnen used to talk about, you start inconveniencing yourself enough, you start to feel like you deserve to win. And I do think that Kelvin's got that chip on his shoulder coming in this week. I think we're going to see a little bit more of a violent, aggressive version of Kelvin here. And I do think he could still clip the chin of Luque. I think he's fast. You mentioned it, man. You took the southpaw talking points right out of my mouth, because I wrote up, you know, many times why I love Vicente Luque, but I don't love when he matches up with southpaws, and the damage is cumulative, right? He's taken a lot of damage. He's been in a lot of wars, a lot of back and forth fights. You could say the same about Kelvin, but I saw Luque kind of take the door against Buckley, and I've never seen Kelvin do that ever. So I got to pick him to win this fight. But I will say, you know, I talked to a couple sharp guys that brought up, you know, Luque sub, and that's something I brought up earlier in the week. Like, how do I imagine Luque winning this fight, or like looking like the price should have been reversed? It's like, Luque is an excellent submission grappler, and Kelvin sometimes makes boneheaded decisions on the ground and just gets submitted. You know, obviously the Brady fight, like, you could forgive him getting audited there in the grappling, right? Brady's really good. But the Jacker Manson fight looks like a comedy. Like, the guy's been wrestling and grappling for like 15 years, and just like the guy like attacking legs, like he just was like, what? Like, it was crazy. So ultimately, I think Kelvin probably doesn't go to as many jiu-jitsu classes as Vicente Luque. And that's the bottom line. You know, Luque is a guy who's really legit on the mat. So I think the way Kelvin could sub him would be if Luque like quit and didn't want to be there. Whereas I think Luque has like skills and techniques where he could put him in a choke that, you know, Kelvin couldn't recover from, that kind of thing. But ultimately, yeah, I say the pick for me is Kelvin Gastelum. But the more I looked into this fight, the more I was like, is there some life to Vicente Luque? Could he have a chance? But when you have a bad shin, and, you know, you've had a lot of really unreliable footage, it's just hard to get behind that. Kelvin has had all these same faults for the last like 10 years, but the things he doesn't do are quit on himself and give up or get knocked out. So those are all promising things in his regard. I was just stunned, though, Tim, that the KO for Luque is a shorter price than the submission. I was like, have you ever seen him fight before? Obviously, the guy hits hard, but like Kelvin is like a brick-headed, you know, guy. He's a Neanderthal. He doesn't get knocked out. Like,
what is the sub prop awesome. At? I forgot.
It was 13-1. The last that I had looked, I haven't looked in the last like 12 hours, so I could have moved. But yeah, that was what I was seeing, and I was like, man, I don't think Luque wins, but like, it's like, do not press this button, you know? Like the meme.
Yeah, like, that's a ridiculous
thing. I might have to press that button and just like find out how dumb I really am. But
honestly, I overlooked that. I overlooked that prop because I think that's like, I really struggle to see him winning a decision, and like I think that's pretty much. I don't want to say it's only his money line, because that's not the way it goes, but like that's a high percentage of his win condition, like a very high percentage of his win condition. Like you said, Gastelum has not looked great in certain scenarios, so yeah, 13-1 is kind of wild.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. Like, if he's plus 215, then there's no way that the sub is 13-1. Like, one of those numbers I feel like is probably wrong. And like, maybe he's plus 500 and the sub was plus 1,000,000. But it's like, if he's actually plus 215 to win this fight, then I just think a large percentage of that is him to win via submission. Even if he hurts Kelvin, like, Kelvin is going to try and stay in the fight. I just think the way you get a tough guy out of there is a choke, because you can't be tough about a choke. You just go to sleep like everybody else. All right, man. It brings us to the next one. Hooey! This is such an interesting fight, Tim, and I think I had you go first on the last one. I'll lead us off here. And I did a lot of tape. I did a lot of footage. It's a tricky fight because I think that there's some things to like about MarQuel Mederos. Like, he's just very consistent in his approach. You kind of know what you're going to get from him. Guy's going to kick at the legs. He's going to try and take somebody's wheels away from them. And when he feels like they can't move as well, he's going to start being a lot more aggressive with his punches. He's going to start throwing more. So I think that, he overwhelmed his opponent on Contender Series fast by defending a takedown, throwing some shots back. And then as soon as he got the front foot, it was kicks to the leg. It was get you off your base. And as soon as that guy was not feeling comfortable, it was volume of attack. It was keeping pressure on. Since he's moved to the lab, he's kind of been a lot more measured in his approach, a lot more, kick and go and move and touch and go and move. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, defensively, you would think that would lead to a safer fight. But then it's like, sometimes the guy's just like, no, now I'm going to get in an exchange on this one. And it's like, he just leaves himself there to be countered at times and like takes a couple shots, and he'll get ahead on the strike count by a couple, or he'll, land some really grimacing leg kicks that like clearly sway him the round. He can land some decent punches as well, but he could just be there to get hit back on the return sometimes. I think back to that Landon Quinones fight. I believe Quinones is 1-2 in the UFC, and he was landing some hard shots in that fight. And Mederos kind of was sticking around too long in the pocket there. And then you look back at, okay, well, what about the Austin Hubbard fight? And it's like, well, Hubbard took his back for the entirety of round 2. And then in round 3, he's on top with about, 90 seconds left. He had taken him down for 3 minutes of the round, and he passes guard. He's in top half guard. And then he goes for like a boneheaded pass that wasn't there, loses position, gets elbowed in the head, starts bleeding everywhere, and blows the fight with like a minute left. And it's just like, hats off to you, right? Like, you stuck with it. Like, you didn't give up on yourself. You found a way to win. But that's the kind of performance where it's like, okay, we got some room to improve. And then the Chowinski fight, I thought that Chowinski was a live dog. Hats off to Mederos again. He did exactly what he needed to do. But he was still really dicey, Tim. Like, he won the fight because he did more damage. And like, that's the name of the game. It's a fight. But Chowinski had his back in round 1. He had his back in round 2. He had the mount in round 3. It's like, if you keep playing with fire, eventually you're going to get burned. And now we have to go to the Taco Padilla side, because I'm a huge fan of his work, but he missed weight here. Not great, right? You got to just call a spade a spade. Guy's been super professional, done things right. Keep in mind, guys, this guy showed up on short notice before, and he made weight. His opponent missed the weight. So it's like, this guy is willing to do hard things for the company. But in this case, he might have bit off a little more than he could chew in terms of the preparation. My only concern here for Padilla is that he comes in maybe injured or something, and that's why he wasn't able to get the road work in, or that's why he wasn't able to get things right. And I don't mean so injured he can't fight. I just mean injured enough that the weight cut and everything else was hindered, and he couldn't really do the work that he wanted to at the way that he wanted to. And so those are my concerns here. But I look at Padilla, and the guy has a cage push game where he'll clinch guys against the fence and throw big elbows and throw knees and chip away at them. He's got a back take game. We saw that in his very first UFC fight. Go out there, push the takedown, push the grappling, get it to his back. And then, unlike some of these other guys, like, when he's getting there, he's trying to make you pay right away and kill you, right? Like, he's just that kind of guy. And then you look at the Rongju fight, and that guy's pressing the action and getting in his face and throwing the low kicks. He's doing the Mederos style game plan. But Rongju, who's like a very tough guy and a durable guy, and by the way, beat 7 shades of shit out of Cody Steele. That guy was doing the pressure game and getting in his face. And you see Padilla switching the stances and throwing back and moving. And then as soon as he's found his opportunities, he starts coming up the middle with big stuff. People remember the one elbow that closed the show, but I don't think that they remember the knees up the middle before that and the kicks and the big overhand right that he was catching him with. And it's like when Padilla started to get the timing, he was throwing back hard shots. The guy plays for keeps, right? Like he's like, it's you or me. Like I'm here to take you out. He's a violent guy. And I do think that he kind of has a little bit better feel for his counters. Like when he goes, he's like taking people and damaging them bad right away. And I just think that Mederos, he's much more of like a touch and move and touch and not really setting down on anything to kill you. And that's the reason why I do think Padilla is a deserved favorite here. Now, I don't think it should be minus 150. And especially after missing weight, that for me, uncertainty pushes the line closer to 50-50. But on grappling upside, on experience, on the fact that if this is a striking fight, do I think he'll be behind on the numbers? Yes. But do I think he could win rounds and potentially the fight on a big moment or a fight-altering strike? I do. And so for those reasons, I slightly favor Padilla. I'd make it like minus 125. But Mederos has earned my respect in the sense that even when guys get these horrible positions and put him there, he doesn't give up on himself. And most of the time, after being in the bad position, he does find his way back to offense and gets back on these guys after being in control position. So it does show me the guy's got cardio. He works hard in camp. He's clearly showing up in shape and doing things right. By the way, he made weight here. So again, that's professionalism. Check that box. But I do think that for Mederos, when you play with fire so much and it hasn't quite burnt you yet, I feel like that's the kind of veteran lesson that Padilla could give him. So for me, the things that stuck out from a prop perspective, Padilla by sub plus 600, because I think like if he's going to justify being a favorite, I think that's probably how he does it. Hop on this guy's back. Don't let him off the hook. And I think that for Mederos on the other side, I think that, yes, he's a guy that's proven he can be a decisionator at the UFC level. But you look at that Contender Series fight, and by the way, it's kind of like his fault that he didn't finish Chowinski. Like he let that guy off the hook, and then Chowinski kept getting to good positions because he's dog tough and he really knows how to grapple. But it's like Mederos should have finished that guy because he had one leg and he couldn't stand up, right? It's like that's the kind of thing where if Mederos just makes some slight adjustments and gets a little bit more aggressive and kind of realizes when his opportunities to go are there, he can knock people out, right? He can finish guys with low kicks. We've seen Padilla struggle with that. He was able to end the fight early enough that they hadn't added up yet, but it's like, if that doesn't happen, then he's going to have those adding up all night, and it's like 7-1 for Mederos by knockout. I don't think he's got much chance to submit Padilla personally. I think he could knock him out, though. So those are the kind of numbers I'd be looking at here if I was looking to get involved, because I don't see a money line that is like jumping off the table at me. Like, I think it's dog or pass, but I think it's pass because for me, Padilla is a deserved favorite, albeit slight. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, great breakdown. I think both these guys have like I initially rated them, I underrated them a little bit, and then I think both of them have gotten like they've had some really, really fortunate luck in their last few fights. Like it's not like you make your own luck a lot of times, but like Taco was losing to Zhu before he got the second round finish. Close fight with Jai Herbert. And I think that's a very similar style to this fight. And you know that he gets the back take and he gets the takedown versus Yantop, but Yantop was piecing him up before that. And then Mederos, you already mentioned, Chowinski getting out of the positions that he got there. Somehow ass pulling versus that gave me PTSD versus Hubbard. I won a ends by split bet, but I think I had 8-1 on Hubbard by split in that fight, and he just shot the bed. So, but like he's fighting life and death.
He sold you down the river, Tim. You could say it. That was brutal.
100%. Like I at least cashed the end split there, so I'm happy with that. But going life or death with Hubbard is, you know, or at least going really, really close with him in this fight is, you know, it's not great. I think a lot of the things that Hubbard does well, Taco does better. I think in the clinch, like you said, in the clinch and takedowns and grappling scenarios, I think Padilla's got him covered. I think at range, this is where Mederos has, you know, the volume and the kicks. I think it's super, super close, goes to decision. I like Mederos' decision at And then more likely, I like the split decision on Mederos at 8-1. But I'm with you. The one that I gave out on the pod, Lamba pod, was the taco by sub. Like, there's just no way that you can tell me that if Chowinski and Hubbard are both getting the back, that Taco can't get the back and that he can't get a submission at that point. I think he's a better submission artist. He might not be a better wrestler than Chowinski. I think he's equal to maybe even a better wrestler than Hubbard, but I think his jiu-jitsu is better than both of theirs. So I think sub is good.
Yeah, man, he's a violent guy. I think he's got good finishing instincts. And unlike Chowinski, he does not act like it's a grappling match. If he gets on top of you, he might elbow you as hard as he can one time and then try and strangle you, right? Like, he's that guy. So I just think that that's slightly different as well. Respect to Chowinski. I thought he fought like a dog in that fight. But I think Padilla is just a more dangerous guy overall in terms of the violence he's bringing inside the grappling and also, within just striking from all positions. His ground and pound is very intentional. So I think Mederos just doesn't want to be underneath this guy. All right, next up. Speaking of people you do not want to be underneath, Tatianna Suarez has been a smothering wrestling and grappling fighter for most of her career, albeit her two most recent fights have been probably her two worst performances in the UFC. And I think part of that could be attributed to, hey, you fight for a title. Like, that's a tough fight, right? Sometimes you don't look great in a title fight because you're fighting the champion and, they just were better than you. And I think that that's what happened to Suarez against Zhang Weili. Hats off to the champ there. Although I did listen to Suarez say that she got injured early in that fight, like kind of messed up her knee, and then felt like she needed to panic and get the takedown right away and try and finish her, and it gassed her out. I will also say if something major goes wrong, in a fight or in a match or, something like that, like an injury, it could be tremendously fatiguing, right? Because it creates this pressure that you weren't thinking of. And it's like, oh, now you're scrambling. And when you should be thinking of my process and staying dialed and just being focused and doing the normal things, it's like, now I have this new thing I have to think about right now. And I can, give her some grace for that. For me, the performance that's more concerning is actually the subsequent performance, right? Because if you take the exact Tatianna Suarez that fought Carla Esparza out of the cage and put her in there with Amanda Lemos, she would take her lunch money in ways that are hard to describe. Like, it would just be a mugging of the highest order. And to watch that fight, it was tough. It was tough for me because I've always been a huge Tatianna fan. I'm a fan of Patchy Mix. I wish them both the best in life. I hope she does well in this fight. But if I'm just trying to be objective, I felt like I haven't seen the same fighter. And that she sounds great in the interview. She sounds fired up. She wants to do everything right. She wants to go prove a point. She's got all these things. But it's like, now I need to see it in the cage. Because I feel like two really bad performances for me by how I expected her to look and perform. That's a concern for me. Because it makes it hard to expect her to do these great things going forward. And if you look at Loopy, she has not been easily out-wrestled and out-grappled throughout her career. Like, that shit is not something that's happened very often. She's given up boneheaded mistakes, like allowing herself to get into a leg entanglement with Verna for extended periods of time for no reason. And, allowing Jessica Panay early in her career to just jump on her back a few times in very foolish ways. Letting her climb like a tree and like take her back from standing. It was ridiculous, guys. Go back and watch that. But that's kind of growth on the job from Loopy Godinez. And I feel like when you have this girl who's got a low center of gravity and she's pretty physically strong, that's not an easy recipe for Suarez as far as I'm concerned. Like, I thought she was going to mug Montana De La Rosa, who's had limited success at the UFC level. And she got the win. She did the things that I expected in that regard. I think I called the guillotine that she got there. Shout out to Patchy Mix. But you go back and you look, it's like, until she got the finish there, until she was able to rip that front head, it's like there was a lot of struggling to get the fight to the ground. There was a lot of struggling to get to the wrestling positions that she wanted. And, Loopy is smaller than her, right? But I do think she's still a physically strong woman. And I don't think she's just easy to barrel over, control on the ground. Those have been things that have been difficult for championship level fighters, for people contending for titles. And that's what Suarez is, right? Like, somebody that was contending for a title, that at one time was considered a championship level fighter. And if she goes out there and smashes Loopy, then maybe I'm ready to get back on the train, right? But for me, I noticed a massive regression in Patchy Mix that now everybody says Patchy Mix sucks. He was never good and all this stuff. It's like everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? I can't say he was certified at the UFC level, but I could tell you guys that he destroyed Tony Gravely, who went 500 in the UFC. And I could point to all these examples of like guys that he beat that did have the UFC stamp of approval. Kyoji Horiguchi, by the way. Like you look at these things and it's like, but then when he got to the UFC, he was just not the same guy. Ben Askren was a great fighter when he fought Jay Haran. And he was a really okay fighter by the time he made it to the UFC because he needed a hip replacement. That's the realities of life that you can't evade or ignore or whatever. You get older, you get injuries, they compound. When it's not your first career in combat, it's your second. Tatianna Suarez did a career in combat in wrestling. She's then dealt with every kind of health concern you could imagine. And so it's not saying this is an indictment of Suarez or her work ethic or her skills or anything like that. It's just like physically, I think the fight game and all these other health problems and all these other things have taken a toll on her. And I just don't think she's quite the same fighter that she used to be. So I think the best version of Suarez wipes the floor with Godinez in a bad way. Maybe she still has enough to win, but I need to see to believe. So honestly, man, there's nothing I could do with this fight, really, because the prices are a little bit disgusting. The things that jumped out at me were the split decisions, which I'm sure you probably touched on if I had to guess on Lambo Play, because this is like a minus 4XX to go the distance. But if I was to pivot off of that and think about how this fight could finish, I think the more likely path for a finish would be a Godinez knockout or even like an ends by knockout. I just don't see these women submitting each other. Really good submission grapplers have tried to submit Loopy and it just hasn't happened, right? And I think Suarez is a very good submission grappler, but is she better than Mackenzie Dern? Is she better than Verna Jandaroba at submitting people specifically? It's like I'm not fully convinced about that. And meanwhile, it's like if she starts to slow down like she did in the Lemos fight, Lemos I think was afraid to wrestle with her because she kind of knew like I will eventually end up on the bottom position, like I will get reversed, something bad will happen to me. And I just think Loopy might end up on top here if Tati gets tired. So that's my concern for Tati here. And I say this as a fan of hers. So I hope things go better than I expect, but you almost start to worry about your favorites before everybody else does because you remember what it used to look like. And that was me with Luque. And then it's like Tatianna Suarez as well. Love her as a fighter, but I just haven't seen the same girl out there. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, this fight is a total pass for me as well. I passed on Lambo Pod. I rarely like pass on that show, and there's just didn't seem to be anything that I liked prop wise that was big. Even the end split is like the grossest of gross at like plus 250, which is as low as you can get, and it's just too tough to see. It's just too tough to like. I wanted to get. I really pre-flop like I wanted to get to a Loopy bet badly for all the reasons that you just said with Tatianna. But you just go back in her tape and like she's getting taken down by Cavilo, she's getting taken down by the corpse of Jessica Panay, getting taken down by Angela Hill, she's getting taken down by Dern twice, and like Verna, I'll give Verna like it's okay if you get taken down by Verna, but like Loma took her down as well.
Dude, nobody controlled Tabitha Ricci like ever. Like it's never happened.
Yeah.
And then Verna just stuck to her. I was like, yo, Verna, my hat is off to you.
It's totally impressive. Like that was insanely impressive. But I think like my point with that is like, I think that if you get a Verna, she goes into a leg, like Loopy is just going to do stupid shit. Like she's going to make at least 2 mistakes in this fight mentally where you're like, well, why would you do this? Like, why are you going to even try to do this? And she's guaranteed to do it. Like, so to me, I just don't want to have any part of like, betting Loopy as a small dog. If you gave me like, if you said this line was like plus 180 or plus 200, I'm taking a shot on Loopy then, but not at this line. And like you said, like the only finishing to me, honestly, I would think maybe a sub for Suarez because Hill got Loopy in that guillotine and almost had her, that made her kind of not want to shoot for the rest of the fight. And I think Suarez probably has a better guillotine than her, but I don't think it hits. I think his fight goes to decision at a super high clip, and I probably will wait to see live before I do anything, or if anything happens and you start to see, Luque stuff in the takedowns or early in round one, maybe you take a shot at her at a slight favorite at that point, because the line will probably start blowing out her way if she's stuffing takedowns.
Yeah, man. I think that the longer that you wait might be the better opportunity on Godinez, if I just had to guess right now, because obviously I think some really sharp money came in on Godinez. To crush this line. And I think that at this point, the public is probably going to come in on Suarez tomorrow, if I had to guess. So that would be something that I think the longer you wait, maybe even after one round, like you said, live, right? Maybe the longer that you wait, you get the better price on Loopy. But I just don't think right now I can get there with the money line. But yeah, I think it's a dogger pass situation, unfortunately. All right, man. That brings us to the next fight. This is a certified hood classic. Mateusz Gamrot, the grappler, right? The wrestler, and, a former championship level fighter, right? In KSW. So this is a guy that's been 5 rounds. That's kind of seen it, done it all. Just fought Charles Oliveira, got smoked. And now he's got to come back and kind of get some get back, right? Try and find his footing again. He's got Esteban Ribovics here, another Argentine who's looking to stake his claim. And he's had a lot of success in the UFC, 4-2. And the fights that he's lost, he competed hard in both of those fights, and they're both extremely competitive. So Ribovics has never been a punk to anybody. And meanwhile, Mateusz Gamrot, very high-level guy, extremely difficult challenge. He presents a different puzzle than most guys in the MMA meta. Tim, I'll kick it over to you, my man. How do you see this fight going down? 255-pounders with something to prove. But do you think it's the old guy who holds serve, or do you think Esteban Ribovics comes and takes everything he's worked for?
This is a great fight. I mean, this is completely, a binary fight, in my opinion. If the fight stays standing, I think it's completely in Ribovics' corner. And I feel like if Gamrot can get his game off grappling, then he's in his realm. Like, I totally understand everybody's take on this. For me, I lean a little bit on the Gamrot side, just because I think that the takedown defense, whereas it might be improving for Ribovics, it still is, his main weakness. Kirk's getting him down, getting his back. Luque took him down a million times. Obviously, he got up a bunch in that fight, showing that he can do that, and he has get-ups, and he's not going to just lay on his back, kind of like Ludovic Klein. I think in fights with Gamrot, when he's fighting lower-tier grapplers, he doesn't have a problem holding him down. Against higher-tier grapplers, they're getting up, but he's just continuing to force the pressure and push the pace on guys and continuing to get him down. I also think that takedown defense training is not really, it's really almost impossible to train takedowns like Gamrot's going to be doing. Like, he's got a unique style to his takedowns. You can probably elaborate more on that.
Low single.
Yeah, it's just like there are not a lot of guys that are going for that over and over and over. And I think also, like, Dan Hooker has a guillotine that he was using. Ribovics isn't really using that to, like, as his takedown defense. He's just trying to defend normally. And I think that if he had a better, guillotine to kind of scare him off, kind of like Hooker did, that might be something that would make him hesitate a little bit. But he just usually uses the Kimura trap to try to sweep and, get himself back up into a position, and then gives up his back to get up. And I just feel like the Kimura trap, like, the Kimuras are going to basically give he's going to give one of his arms up. It's going to allow Gamrot to pass. Gamrot, I had Charles big last fight versus Gamrot, and I had Charles by sub, and I was just like, there's levels to the jiu-jitsu here between these guys, but it's not because I thought that Gamrot doesn't have really good jiu-jitsu. I think he's got excellent jiu-jitsu. So I feel like, Gamrot by sub is plus 750. I like that. I think everybody thinks that his only win condition is to just, 15 minutes of top time, or, 10 minutes of top time and survive. I think draws live in this fight. I rarely say that. But I think draws live in this fight too, man. I think like two rounds of, control and us getting knocked down twice in third round and surviving, like what the beatdown that Ribovics put on Zellhuber, and like Gamrot's getting knocked down by everybody. So, but he's shown incredible recoverability. Hasn't been knocked out completely yet, but he's getting hurt and knocked down by multiple fighters, probably 5 of his last fights, I think, or 6 of his last fights. He's been knocked down, minus the Charles one. So yeah, I think the draw is like stupidly live here at 80-1. Like, come on, like what are we doing here? You get definitely a chance for Ribovics to own him in round 3 if he's tired, and that's a massive line. So I end up leaning on the Gamrot side. I understand everybody who's taking shots on Ribovics, that he's just going to force the pace and do his thing and just be an Argentine and just come out and fucking go after him the whole time and throw like 50 strikes per round if he's standing, even for the minute and a half that he's up. Like, he'll probably just try to be lighting him up, 10 shots per minute. So yeah, give me Gamrot, but I definitely understand both sides.
Fair play, my man. I have before called him Scam Rat when I was fading him with Dan Hooker. Totally unfair. The guy seems like the nicest guy. If you listen to his interviews, very humble, hardworking. And if you listen specifically for this fight, he said, like, my number one priority was just to get my cardio absolutely dialed. And he was like, listen, last time it's Charles Oliveira. They offered me that on short notice. Like, I'm going to go out there and take that. It didn't work out. So now I'm going to get back in the gym and get in really good shape before I do this. I think he's been living at ATT since January, just training for this fight. So he's locked in. Like, he's going to give you what he's got. He's going to give you his best effort. That being said, I faded him with RDA, and RDA, I thought, had it, dude. When he landed that knee, I was like, it's over. It's over. And, dude, he gets back up. He starts rallying. Gamer is the perfect nickname for Mateusz Gamrot. This guy cares about winning a lot. This guy tries really effing hard. So that is what makes him so good, right? Like, he's got the great wrestling. He's got those skills. On the feet, he's not a bad fighter. He can pop you hard, but he's a little bit vulnerable defensively. He just wants it so bad. So he fights hard. He comes in great shape. He's always prepared. He's willing to wrestle hard. He doesn't give a shit. He can push that kind of pace. The thing that I think makes this an interesting fight is actually what Cameron mentioned in the chat. He said Brenner was able to take Orelbai down, and he was not able to take Ribovics down. And I do think that was very interesting, because I really respect Miktabek Orelbai. Like, the guy's strong. He's a good wrestler. He knows what he's doing in those positions. And to watch Elves Brenner go out there and, he's a physical guy. He's an awkward guy. He really likes his jiu-jitsu. If you guys just look at his record prior to coming to the UFC, the guy was submitting everybody. So it's like Elves Brenner is one of these guys that, like, he prides himself on his grappling and his groundwork. And Ribovics was able to just shut it down. And now you said Gamrot's levels above. And I could not agree more, right? Like, this is the next evolution of that test. It's like, hey, okay, you passed test B or C. Here's a test A. And it's like, this will tell us if Ribovics has really made substantive improvements or not. I thought Ludovic Klein had made significant improvements in his takedown defense, but I do think that there's 2 things that you need in order to wrestle. And one of them is the technique, but the other thing is an attitude that says, fuck you, I'm going to win. Because if you don't have that, dude, knowing what to do, like, yeah, there's a difference between the knowing and the doing. Like, the doing is half the battle. You have to be willing to fight him. That's what it is. It's like we're wrestling, but wrestling is competing for position. Like, I'm going to push into you. I'm not going to give up just because you're pushing into me. And it just felt like Ludovic Klein was deflated in that fight. Every takedown he gives up, it's like, oh, this sucks. Like, you're not going to win fights when that's the case, right? If you're getting out wrestled. And obviously Gamrot had the skill to get him down, which was impressive, right? It was beating that first and second layer of takedown defense. But once it was on the ground, it was capitulation. It was, all right, buddy, you got it. Like, you hold me down as long as you want. RDA tried to get up, but he's old and he didn't have the energy. So every time he tried to get up, Gamrot is just in better shape than him. And he's like, I ain't got it anymore, man. Like, I'm tired. I can't do this. Ribovics doesn't get tired. Ribovics is one of these guys that just seems like he shows up in phenomenal shape. And like, if there was one thing that can get a guy with great cardio tired, it's getting audited in the grappling. So like, hey, come back to me if he gasses out in this one and shame me. I'll take it. But it's like, I've never seen the guy gas. I've seen the guy push a really hard pace. Loic Radzhabov, guys, attempted 21 takedowns, which most guys can't do. Obviously, Gamrot might be able to, but most guys can't do that. And he was able to get up like 10, 11 times. It's just like, he's just up again. Like, hit me again, Tube Sock. Like, he just wants to keep going. And he doesn't let you just settle. So, like, if you try to take that break, he's going to work back up. If you're holding him down actively, that costs a lot of energy. And I do think that Gamrot, he's going to come in shape. He's going to do things right. But it has been hard for him to sustain that. I think part of that, to your point, was the guillotines from Dan Hooker. I actually made a whole video about that, why Dan Hooker cashed as a plus 350 underdog. And I talked about the guillotines. It disrupts your process. It makes it so it's hard to take the next takedown attempt. And when you do, you're quicker to pull out of that takedown attempt when you feel that pressure on your neck again. So maybe Ribovics, if he's smart, if his coaches are smart, they're going to say, hey, buddy, let's show the threat of the guillotine here. But also body style and type matters a lot, right? And the thing that Ribovics does and that he does well, and I think that he does differently than some other Gamrot opponents, is he puts strikes together. Hooker is able to hit him with a couple big shots. He dropped him with that one hand. They didn't credit it in the official stats. I have eyes. I saw it. He got dropped. But if you look back, it's like, what about Esteban Ribovics is special? He throws 5. Ha, da, boom. It's like, I'm upstairs. I'm down low. I'm here. I'm there. And I'm going again. And if I can't put a hand behind it, I'm putting a foot behind it. I'm coming upstairs on you. And these are the things that, yes, could get him taken down. But a lot of these guys don't give themselves a chance to knock out Gamrot because they land one shot, and you said it, he can recover well. You know what's hard to recover from? When you're like getting hit all over the place, you can't even see the next one coming. And, I do think that there's some violent potential in this fight on both sides. I think Gamrot might be able to just wreck him on the mat. I don't see that as likely as if he gets tired, if he slows down, if he makes a mistake, or if he hangs out at range too long. I think this guy can clip him. And I tweeted a long time ago, Esteban Ribovics is one highlight reel knockout away from like becoming a star. Like, the guy has been in the fights of the night. He's been in these big opportunities. He put Terrence McKinney on a milk carton. Like, he's done a couple big things already, but he doesn't have a signature win. He hasn't really proven he can compete with this level of guy. If he goes out there and beats this guy, rocket ship, strap it on, buddy. Here we go. And I do think that that's what makes this a great matchup. That's what makes this compelling. So I wanted to just check real quick, if I can, the odds on the fight not to go the distance, because I felt like it was a fight that's, pretty heavily favored to go. And I do think both guys have a chance to put this fight away. So it's only plus 180 I'm seeing best available. Let me take a look at the under. The under 2.5's around 2-1. So I'd probably go with the plus 180 there if pressed. I could see Gamrot just riding out a decision, but to your point, like if Gamrot has 10 minutes of like actual grappling success in this fight, like he takes him down and he's on top of him, like he can't just pass his guard and like get active there. Like I would feel like that would be the way Gamrot justifies his price, right? It's like kind of cutting through this guy a little bit in the grappling because he should be a level above.
Yeah, like you said, it's not like in the fight with Ludovic, he doesn't have any chances to pass, and why would he? Like, it's just he's just content with staying in that position and just continuing just to ragdoll him in that position on the ground. And there's no real, and the same thing with RDA. It's like these guys, there's no reason I'm going to give up this position. I'm going to go for a sub at this point. I'm just going to hold position over submission. But in this fight, Ribovics is not going to lay down and just lay down. Like, he's going to give him multiple chances to advance position. Like, he's going to give him chances with the Kimuras. He's going to give him chances with back takes, trying to get up. Like, he's going to have multiple, and whether or not he takes them or not, that's going to be, or whether or not he doesn't take them and then just goes for the next, low single, that's up to him. But I really think he's going to have multiple chances to either get a back take or get it either side, side control or past a mount even, and have like, just, I don't think that Ribovics is like going to lay there and just allow him to just continue to be on top. Like just not how he fights.
No, sir. He does not take no for an answer. So something's got to give, my man. Quintessential grappling versus striking dynamic. I'm fired up for it. Our guy Moise in the chat says, Kimura, armbar, RNC, Ribovics, don't do it. That's funny. Yeah. I don't think he's going to have any real grappling success here. It's just about if he could defend. On to the next, my man. Crapshoot of a fight. Kevin Holland taking on Randy Rudeboy Brown. I'll give my thoughts on this fight really short and sweet, man. I think that Kevin Holland is a guy I used to have a really good read on, and now my read is just okay because I feel like Kevin is a lot more unpredictable now, whereas I used to feel like the dynamics on him were super clear and he was a very capable fighter. I thought he was going to beat D-Rod like in a pretty clear way, and the way that fight played out made me think, oh, shit, maybe I don't know as much about Kevin as I thought I did. Randy Brown, he's a guy that I'm always kind of hot and cold on. I really don't know how to get a good feel for him because, like, there's some times where Randy looks like a world beater. He looks like a killer. He's got great skills. He goes out there and shows it. The Brian Battle fight, he performed much better than I expected there. But then I look at some other things about Randy's game and how these two guys match up, and the things that jump out for me is the fact that Kevin Holland has like a 7-2 knockdown ratio, I believe, in the UFC, and Randy Brown's is 6-6. It's like he's as likely to get knocked down as he is to knock somebody down. And Kevin Holland hits like a truck. For all of the many faults of Kevin Holland, even you could point back to fights where he lost, like the Derek Brunson fight. He nearly knocked Derek Brunson out in that fight. I was so happy that Derek was big man and was able to just easily take him down because he got hurt and he was able to just, hero a double leg and get back on top. And Kevin was hanging out on bottom, but it's like, that was up at 185. That was a bunch of years ago. Kevin still hits hard, man. He can still rock guys. He can still hurt them. And I think Randy's not as durable. So, I think like skill for skill, Randy's probably a slightly better striker. I think he's the more technical guy, a little bit more nuanced, but I've seen him have like low tempo, ugly kickboxing matches with guys he's supposed to be levels better than. And I feel like Kevin Holland, for all the faults that he has, when he beats guys, it's normally like a violent display and like he puts guys away. And I think he could put Randy Brown away. So I'm going to pick Kevin here. And let's say fight not to go. I think those are the sides for me in this one. Gross fight, though. What do you think?
Total mirror matchup between, big, long, athletic strikers that usually guys are trying to grapple them. It's a tough one, man, because I think that the power and durability are on the Holland side, and the technicality, like you said, and the volume are probably on the Brown side. And the question, I think Holland has better jiu-jitsu, but I don't know who's the better wrestler and who's more physical. We'll kind of see that. Well, I don't even know. If
my gut says Kevin, but that's no disrespect to Randy. That's just a gut feeling based on the way I've seen Kevin kind of scramble with guys. Like even Chimaev, that was a competitive scramble until it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of lean the same way. I just don't. I'm not really confident to say that. Like in the clinch, I think like Brian Battle was just holding him up against the cage in the clinch and got a bunch of wasted time that way. I feel like I don't know that a lot of this fight will go that way, but if it does get there, it'd be interesting to see who actually has the edge there. But yeah, this fight to me is just like really, really close. I think the finishing side is primarily on Holland. I think he could club and sub him. I think he could knock him out. But I think this is kind of a splittish fight if this fight goes more minutes versus moments, and Randy Brown reacting worse to being hit harder, but probably landing a little bit more. So yeah, kind of splittish to me. But if you had like a finish only prop, which is probably terrible on Holland, that's probably those are probably like minus 250. Honestly, I didn't look into it. I rarely bet those, but I think he could. I think he has most of the finishing upside here. He has been getting hurt more recently in this fights. The D-Rod was a horrible look, but the only other thing I didn't mention is he's just unreliable. He's just one of the most unreliable fighters. He's kind of like Loopy with you just never know what you're going to get with him, and probably going to make a couple bad decisions in each fight, and not a guy I want to put a lot of money on.
Yeah, it is impossible to trust Kelvin fully. Like, you just can't do it at this point. Like, you have to acknowledge the risk potential going in of just like, he might not fight optimal or he might do something stupid. But it's like, even with all that kind of baked in, I've made 20 units betting on Kevin Holland fights over the years. So like, I do feel like I still have to, believe in kind of where I kind of power rate these guys and things like that. And Randy's coming off a knockout loss, kind of an ugly one too. Losing a Bonfim, no skin off your nose if you go out there and get submitted, but just like kind of getting tuned up like a guitar on the feet by a guy that is a good fighter, but again, a guy that got knocked out by Nicholas Dalby like 2 fights ago. It's like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. And meanwhile, some guys get credit for beating guys and then other guys don't. It's funny, right? And obviously, it was a big win for Bilal when he beat Luque, and even Joel Alvarez gets his welterweight debut. He goes out there and gets a decision. It's like Kevin Holland went out there and smoked him, just like beat him up on the feet, and then eventually hurt him bad, finished him with a choke with basically Luque's signature choke. It's just like, I just feel like Kevin Holland on any given night can show up looking like $1 million. So I don't trust him and won't lay chalk with him, but I think the knockout very live here. And again, like you kind of pointed out, if he gets hurt at any point here, Randy, he's got a big long neck, and Kevin's very opportunistic with that rear naked choke, with that front headlock series. A couple ways he could finish this fight. So I think Kelvin wins this one. And I also think, listening to his interviews, he actually sounds like he gives a shit about this fight, which is half the battle with Kelvin. You never know if he's going to care or not. And it does sound like he actually dislikes Randy and wants to hurt him. So those are all positive attributes, I think, in his direction. All right, man. We've got the Bellator main event. We got Patricio Pitbull taking on Aaron Pico. And, dude, I should have worn my Aaron Pico t-shirt. I feel like a goofball for not wearing that, because how many opportunities do you get to wear that? And if he loses this fight, you might never get the opportunity again. But I think that, man, this is an interesting one, because if this was a couple years ago in Bellator, I think that this fight probably would have been a pick'em, or, maybe Pico minus 150, right? Because he just pushes a hellacious pace. The guy's got incredible offense. You talk about composite skills in martial arts. The guy's wrestling is world class. The guy's boxing is picturesque. It looks fucking beautiful. But when he puts it all together in a mixed martial arts setting, disaster seems imminent. It's just like, I love Aaron Pico. I've had the t-shirt since high school, right? Like, what more bona fides can I have? I watched him when he was just a wrestler. I've watched him all the way on up, and I still root for him to succeed and do well. I know that the guy puts in incredible hard work. I am speculating that the guy has incredible supplementation from every pharmacy under the sun. It's like, the guy looks like he's done everything he can to set himself up for success in fighting. But when you watch him fight, he is too predictable for high-level opponents, because he has one direction, and it's forward. I coach wrestlers to go forward, to wrestle forward, to get in guys' face and create pressure. You know why? Because your opponent will never square up a really hard punch or a knee to the face or an elbow. And the reason you see guys use footwork and in and out movement and showing the head this way and that way and coming back and forth and doing all these things is to disguise their entries, so you don't know which one's real and which one's fake. Aaron Pico, everything is real. I am here to fucking hit you. I'm here to take you down. I'm going to do it over and over, and you see if you can stop me. And against Lerone Murphy, he was doing well, taking him down, landing some shots. But what was he not doing well? He was not doing well disguising those things. He landed right away. He backs up Lerone Murphy. He's got him on the fence. And Lerone right away starts reading like, this guy is just going to come at me. So now everything needs to be put something in his way. And he starts throwing some punches, and he starts throwing some knees. It was not the elbow that was the only strike that Lerone landed. And I feel like people, again, like sometimes you take this beautiful finishing sequence and you say like, this is all that happened. And it's like, look at the subsequent or the preceding moments. It's like the preceding moments were Pico's walking onto a shot, then taking a shot, then walking onto a shot. It's like he just keeps putting himself in the line of fire over and over and over again. And when I look at this fight, he's fighting an older guy. He should be able to take down Pitbull. But Pitbull is not a bad wrestler. If you watch that Dan Ige fight, even when Pitbull is hurt, he can wrestle. He can move. He kind of knows how to scramble. Is he on the level of Pico wrestling? Fuck no. But it's a mixed martial arts fight, right? He's a good jiu-jitsu fighter. Who's the best jiu-jitsu fighter that Aaron Pico has defeated? It's like he got submitted by Freeman. He's got knocked out by some other guys. It's like, who's the best jiu-jitsu guy that he's gone out there and dominated on the ground? So I would say, okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit on he's just going to dominate Pitbull on the ground. Maybe he could do that. He might be able to ground and pound him out of there. I think that's possible as well. But when we look at on the feet, I think either one of these guys could knock each other stone cold out. Like, I just think when you look at Aaron Pico, he throws 100% commitment. He throws hard. He throws to the head and the body. He could absolutely knock out Pitbull. Pitbull's been knocked out before. He's been knocked out by guys on the Japanese scene that you've never heard of. But then you look at Aaron Pico's been knocked out. He's been knocked out by guys of a lower caliber than Patricio Pitbull. He has walked onto shots before. What's the biggest difference between these two guys as strikers? Because they both hit hard, right? It's how they fight. Pitbull is a distance manager. He's a thinker. He's a guy that goes out there and makes a lot of smart decisions in fights. That's why he wins. You look at the Dan Ige fight. Dumber fighters with less class and experience lose that fight when they get head kicked in round 3. He got head kicked. He's rocked. He shoots multiple takedowns knowing I'm up 2 rounds. I need to get to the end of this round and I win. And he did that because he's a championship level fighter. That's the thing about Pitbull that's impressive, right? And I look at this fight and I say, I think Pitbull could hurt him. And I think that Aaron Pico normally has the safety blanket of, if I get hurt, I'm going to take this guy down and there ain't a fucking thing he can do about it, right? So like you have to hurt him and you have to knock him out cold because otherwise he's going to take you down. If you shoot while you're rocked against Patricio Pitbull, there is a non-zero chance that you're getting put to sleep with a guillotine right away. Very good at that move. Very fast on the trigger to commit to it. It's got a lot of guys. So I look at all that and I say, I would rather pay less chalk for the fight not to go than I would for Aaron Pico on the money line, because the way I've never seen Aaron Pico fight different. He would have to do something different in this fight. He's gone to decision before, but through no fault of his own. It's like this guy goes out there and is all offense. Push, push, go, go, go. And if you do that against great fighters, it'll be kill or be killed. And I think that that's the case in this one too. I think he has the skills, the tools to knock out Pitbull, to finish him, to put him away. But I also think that he has the irresponsibility, the offensive enthusiasm that from his very first fight to his most recent fight, the losses have the same problems. They have the same built-in fundamental errors, which is going forward too much, being too aggressive too much. You need to find a measured approach. That it's not to say you can't be aggressive. It's to say you can't let your opponent know what you're doing at all times. And if everything is forward and everything is all offense, everything's on a straight line, all I need to do is find you, intercept you with something hard. And it'll be a miracle if you don't get knocked out. Because people are saying like, oh, it's a flying knee, it's an elbow. Why are they landing these things, guys? Because he's coming forward full speed in a straight line that's very predictable, that if I am a high-level thinking fighter, I'm going to go, let me get off the line and fucking throw something as hard as I can there. Let me spin off the line and fucking put an elbow through where his head's going to be because I know he's coming. Let me find this knee that I know he's going to come down this straight line towards me, and I'm going to jump and fucking knee his head through the roof. It's like, I love Aaron Pico. I don't love the price. I'd rather have the fight not to go. I think fight not to go and Patricio Pitbull are the sides. What do you think about this one, brother?
Yeah, I agree with a high percentage of what you're saying there. The only part where I think that I might go a little bit to the other side is that Pico has overcorrected when he's gotten knocked out in fights, the next fights, and come out and fought very intelligently and kind of gone for takedowns and just been kind of one-dimensional either striking or one-dimensional either wrestling, especially on the wrestling side. And I think it's going to be hard to submit Pitbull and finish him with submissions on the ground. I think he's got nasty ground and pound, but I also think just like once the fight hits the ground, I think Pitbull's kind of, he's not going to be an easy out if the fight does hit the ground. I don't believe. I think that the fight not going, like you're saying, is more, like you said, either a submission from Pitbull or a knockout from either guy. Pitbull's it's going to be hard for me to see him like just out pointing Pico in this fight from a stand-up standpoint. Like, I just kind of think like he's either going to catch him in a sub or he's going to knock him out, and he's just going to counter punch and wait until he makes that mistake. I tell people all the time, I mean, I played professional tennis and I coach kids at a high performance tennis club, and I tell them all the time and nobody believes me, like, but tennis and fighting are like so similar. Like, they're so similar. Like, and people are like, you're fucking nuts. It's not a contact sport. It's like one-on-one, multiple skill sets, cardio all day wins, teaching techniques that require disguise. Like, if you have disguise in tennis, it's the same fucking thing. It's the exact same thing. Not knowing where somebody's hitting a ball is the same thing as not knowing where the punch is coming from, or if they're going to shoot a takedown after they throw a jab or an overhand. It's so similar. And like you said, like if you don't have disguise, it's just like you're going to get hit by just massive shots. I see people in the chat talking about Pico being chinny. It's like, I don't think he's chinny. Like, he took an absolute ass beating by Carvalho and it got finished, but it took him forever to just knock the living shit out of him. And the other two knockouts literally knock out everybody in almost every single situation. The spinning elbow knocks out 99.9% of people, and the flying knee knocked out. Like, and then the fourth KO was an injury. So I'm not sure that it's like, oh, this dude's chinny. I think he's not getting jabbed and like, oh, I'm just doing a stanky leg, and then, oh my God, Pico again. It looks like Matt Schnell out there. You know, like, dude's taking massive shots and getting knocked out. So can Pitbull hit him with something like that? Yes. Is he the type of counter puncher that can be experienced enough to see him do stuff like that and see it coming from a mile away? Yes. But I just think that it's like, it's going to be, his path has got to be something where he catches him. Like, I just don't think that it's going to be a minute winning, you know, counter punching winning minutes against Pico. I just don't think that that's what's going to happen. So yeah, I mean, I did say that, Shady Beach Bum, tennis and fighting. Yes, they are more similar than people. I understand you can't beat anybody up in tennis. I understand. I get it. I'm not saying that it's a physical, you know, that people
just wait till your student whacks somebody with the racket and they're like, it's right. More about fighting than you think.
Exactly. No, it's more the stylistic matchups and teaching different skill sets going one-on-one. So yeah, it's way closer than people think on fights with tennis. So yeah, that's been my perspective for the last 5 years doing this has all been through a tennis lens.
I love it, man. And I agree with you. You know, I just don't think that Pitbull can keep up with the pace and the volume of Aaron Pico. If this goes the full 15, I think he's less likely to secure takedowns at control time. So for all those reasons, like, Pico should definitely be favored heavily in a decision. I just think more often than not, this doesn't get there. And that could be because Aaron Pico shows the skills that he really does have, or it could be because he makes the same mistake he's been making since the very first professional fight that he had. So I'm fired up for this one, guys. I think it should be awesome. If I had gotten the plus 280, I would have taken Pitbull. I kind of missed the boat there. So now I'm doing what we call the waiting game, Tim. A lot of times these parlays come in hot and heavy on the day of the fights, and these big favorites get a little bit steamed out. And I'm more than willing to stand against it in a case where, again, you know, 2 and 3 years ago, I think that Pitbull would have been probably even money, you know, plus 120 in this kind of matchup. And I just think that right now, the stock on Pitbull is low because he's 1-1 in the UFC and he got his ass beat by Yair. Based on what we saw from Pico in his last fight, are we 100% sure he would beat Yair? Because, like, I think he should beat Yair. He should treat him like a rag, as Topuria would say. But it's like he, you know, could have probably done some things that Evloev was doing against Murphy, except that he was asleep on the canvas. And that's one thing that you can't win the fight if you're asleep. So let's find out in this one, man. This is awesome. And Pitbull, he's talking that talk this week, brother. So it should be sick. All right. Cub Swanson, Nate Landwehr, the retirement fight for Cub Swanson. Nate the Train in the UFC, the most quotable fighter on the roster. This is just an awesome fight, man. This is good old-fashioned violence. Two Americans going at it, throwing down. And I think that when I look at these two guys, man, I don't have like the clearest read on who wins this fight. Like, it's a closely lined fight. I agree with that. The one thing that did stand out in my modeling of this fight was the fight not to go the distance. Because I was way more bullish on this fight ending inside the distance than the odds makers. It's about minus 130 or so. My numbers put it well in excess of minus 200. So I was like, shit, I have to like double check my numbers and see if I'm overzealous here. But the way I see it, Tim, is like Cub Swanson hits like a truck. He's a very dangerous guy. He's knocked out plenty of guys, good fighters before. And at this stage of his career, I also don't think he's in the business of wanting to fight for 15 minutes if he doesn't have to, right? Like, I think he'd much rather get in and get out as fast as he can. And meanwhile, when you look at Cub's losses throughout his career, he gets finished. Like, you just look like Cub has been hurt. He's been rocked. He's been knocked out on the feet, which over the course of a very lengthy UFC and WEC career, it's like, yeah, no skin off your nose. He's an absolute OG. But then it's the submission losses. It's the giving up late submissions in fights. And when you get older, you get more tired faster. It's like, that's just the realities of the business, right? And it's like, he's up there in age. And I think Nate Landwehr has faults. He loses focus sometimes. I think, honestly, against Morgan Charrier, he lost focus and he got fucking smoked as a result. He was minus 2XX on the live line at that time, right? And he was a big underdog going into that. They were like, Nate's got him. He cooked him in round 2. Like, it's over. And Charrier comes out dialed, and Nate is like emoting to the crowd, and he just gets knocked out. So he can lose focus. He can get knocked out. Not the greatest decision maker you've ever seen. Super violent guy. But Nate can finish guys. He can hurt guys. He can knock guys out. He can knock guys silly. Like David Onama, that fight going to decision's a minor miracle, right? He let him off the hook 5 times in that fight. David Onama nearly killed Nate in that fight. It's like they both took 7 shades of shit out of each other. A 42-year-old and a 37-year-old walk into a bar. There might be an ambulance call, Tim. It's like, I just think for me, minus 130, okay, we'll have to have some of that and find out. I think this fight's probably not going to go. I think Cub can win by knockout. I think Nate could win by knockout. I think if this fight gets extended, Nate could submit this guy. Like Nate Landwehr, very aggressive pace grappler when he gets guys late in fights. And, Cub has never met a submission that he wasn't willing to tap to in the right circumstance. So I think that if Nate gets him real tired, man, I think Cub will take the 400 grand or whatever it is and get out of there and ride off into the sunset. Happy to be a coach and do his thing and, keep going with the next generation. So, yeah, I'd rather, if I'm going to lay minus 1-0 or minus 1-0 on either one of these guys, I'm like, I don't want to do that. That could end in disaster fast. I'd rather give 25 more cents to one of these guys making a categorical error, getting finished, doing something crazy. Let's go for that. Shout out to Jiri. Shout out to Shady as well for his comment on let's go for that from before. How do you feel about this one, my man? An old guy classic.
Yeah, I think your take on going for the fight doesn't go is a much sharper way than trying to take a money line pre-flop in this fight. I don't think that that's a good way to go. I think that it's probably Cub early. In his win condition is probably earlier and Nate's is probably later. I know that Cub got a finish on Billy Q, but Billy Q seems to be pretty worn out at this point in his career and doesn't have the durability to continue taking the same shots that he's normally taking to get guys out in round 3. But I think it like Billy Q and Nate are like very similar styles and, just pressure and, eventually get you to gas out and then they start to take over. Nate's quote of kick my ass and see what happens. Like, that's pretty much his style. He gave, that should be his nickname instead of the Train. But yeah, I think it's early Cub and late Nate. If Nate can take his shots early, then I think he starts to take over in the second round, third round. Can we change Cub's name to Bear? You can't. Cub is young. It's a baby. I want to change his name to Bear Swanson instead. He's 42. So let's see if we can get everybody to start voting on that. Maybe we'll just get a name change for him. But yeah, I like the late round props on Nate a decent amount, and I love the sub props on him late are massive lines. They're like plus 2,700 and plus 4,000 for sub 2 and sub 3. Those are huge lines for a guy that does grapple. He doesn't always grapple, but when he hurts guys in the second and third rounds, he's not afraid to go for a takedown and either get ground and pound or get a sub. So I like the round 2 and round 3 props for Nate late if he can survive round 1 with Cub and start to take over and kind of like turn the tide a little bit on him.
We see this one identically, my man. Like down to the 2-3 props and everything. Like I think it's Cub 1-2. As my shout out to my guy Dan Tom, he always says the hot rounds. The hot rounds for Cub Swanson, I believe in this fight are the 1 and 2. And I think in the case of Nate Landwehr, it's probably the 2 and 3. The reason I brought up the sub angle is just because like I also think Nate is one of these guys. He's kind of live to finish anybody in any round. It's just more likely against Cub that it comes from Cub getting tired than it does from Nate having like standout skills better than Cub. So good points by you, my man. Shout out to somebody in the chat says, hey, Liam, fun question for you guys. Who do you think the best fighting now at light heavyweight, DeRitter, Whitaker, or Costa? Man, that's an interesting question. I think DeRitter has a great skill set, but I don't know how it translates up at light heavyweight in the UFC where there's a lot more dynamic athletes. I like that middleweight that he was huge because it was going to help his grappling. His wrestling is just okay. I think he's going to do better than Whitaker. I mean, he already beat that guy. No disrespect. I think Whitaker is well past prime. Yeah, I think Costa is kind of an open case. Let's see how he does against Mirzakhanov. We'll talk about that shortly. So we can move along to the next fight here, my man. And we got Dominic Reyes taking on Johnny Walker. Under 1.5. That's what I got here. I don't want to pick a side in this fight. 2 chinny guys, 2 dangerous guys, 2 guys that hit really hard. I think Reyes is better. What does that matter in this fight? Yeah, I think Reyes probably knocks him out, but it's not going to surprise me if Walker knocks him out. So once again, I would rather have the under in this fight than I would have either one of these guys really. And looking at Walker, like sometimes he likes to skirt on the outside and stuff like that. Maybe he can make it a boring fight. I mean, hats off to him if he does, but I don't think that's necessarily how he wins because I think technically Dom Reyes is a better fighter. I just think when you can't take a punch, it doesn't matter who's better because either guy could just get knocked out. So, yeah, that's the way I see it, man. Coin flip-ish. And I'd say Reyes based on having MMA skills. What do you think?
Yeah, 2 of the biggest glass cannons out there. It's weird. Like when we do this pod, it's more of a traditional breakdown, and I'm used to giving out huge like prop bets and things like that. And the prop bet that I gave out, which I'm not super confident in, was the GTD and the Reyes decision. I was just making an argument for it, and it was basically like some of the time with these guys, they try to protect their chin and don't go after it, and all it's going to take is 1 or 2 really big shots to get either one of these guys out, I think. But out of 32 finishes, 4 of them are in rounds 2 or 3 for all of them. So like basically it's like if they get out of round 1, there's a 90% chance that they go to decision in a lot of these fights. So I don't think it hits, but like it was like plus 950 on Reyes decision, and like GTD is like plus 370. I kind of think it has to do with Reyes just trying to jab him up and stay at range and not going full rabies on him early. And Johnny Walker has fought, like you said, he has skirted on the outside against a lot of guys, not in his last fight, but a lot of the previous fights, he took his style and completely changed it and went to a kicking and, just throwing out a jab and being long, but mainly kicking from, range. I think he loses, like you said, if he does that, but yeah, I don't want to bet this fight. There's no part of me that wants to bet any of this fight.
Me either, man. I kind of agree with your take in that I think it's either under or probably the most disgusting GTD you've ever seen. So if you're looking for the long shot, the value, I think it's the GTD. And if you're trying to just get right to the point and hope that these guys go out there and deliver what they're being expected of the promotion, they're like, hey, fellas, we literally don't care who wins. Just somebody get knocked out in meme-like fashion. Could you do that for us? And I think that that's what we're gearing up for in the Paramount era. So let's find out, my man. Otherwise, they'll have the Apollo hook in the back just waiting to pull these guys right out of the building, you know? Next up, my man, this is the fight that's dividing the Twitter streets. Would you rather go first or give the rebuttal in this one, Tim? I'll leave the choice up to you, my man.
I will give the rebuttal on this one. You can go first on this one.
All right, man. Sounds good. Listen, I've never been a huge Curtis Blades guy, but I am a respecter, right? I went and saw this guy fight in Ohio, right? In Columbus. He went out there and absolutely starched our guy Dawkins, right? Put him on the milk carton, as we say. But when you look at, you know, a guy like Curtis Blades, very skilled, he's got real wins. He's a credible guy at the UFC level. He's only lost to very good fighters. But I think you can also point to he probably should have lost to Kaniev in his last fight. It was very close. He suffered an injury in that fight. He's going to have to try and rally back and get healthy in this fight. It's his first fight back from an injury. He's been injured before. So now you're 35 years of age. You've had a couple major injuries. You've had a career in wrestling, now a second career in combat. And it's been a lot of fights for Curtis Blades. He's taken a lot of damage at the UFC level. He's been in a lot of these contentious wars and fights. And I think that for the Josh Hokett side, he's a lot fresher. I believe he's the healthier athlete of the pair. And I think that when you're a young guy and you're the faster guy and you're extremely brash and confident, I think that that could serve you in some ways. I think that Curtis Blades is used to being the only guy in the matchup who has the threat of a takedown, who's willing to engage in the wrestling. I picked Jailton Almeida to defeat Curtis Blades and obviously looked very stupid when he blew it in the second round. But if you listen back to my breakdown, I was 100% sure that Jailton Almeida was going to take down Blades, and that's why I was confident that Almeida would win. Now, it was a little bit easier said than done, right? Like, he got every takedown you could have hoped for, right? Like, if you told me before the fight, Jailton Almeida gets 9 takedowns, I'd be like, oh yeah, he won that fight. He blew it, right? And part of the reason why, in my opinion, is because he is a grappler masquerading as a fighter, right? Like, even when he's sitting on top of Derek Lewis, like, he's like kind of playing the bongos as opposed to being like, elbow, hold this. Like, he's not super violent. Like, nothing wrong with that. He just wants to get to his jiu-jitsu and do his jiu-jitsu things. God bless him, right? I like jiu-jitsu too. But when you look at these two guys, Curtis Blades has had 24 professional fights. He has never submitted anything but his taxes. Josh Hokett has 3 submission wins as a professional. Because when he gets on the ground, he starts punching dudes, he gets active, and then they start making bad decisions. They start trying to get up desperately. They start giving their neck. Is he Johnny Jiu-Jitsu? No. He's just taking advantage of the fact that he gets on top of guys, makes them uncomfortable, makes them go home and give up. And then you look at, okay, do I think he could take down Curtis Blades? I honestly think he can, right? I don't think many guys try because most guys don't have the actual wrestling skill to back it up. And Josh Hokett's a 2-time All-American. Josh Hokett is a real wrestler, and Josh Hokett, I think, can back it up. So he's giving up 20-some-odd pounds. The same was true of Jailton Almeida, who took him down 9 times. But the difference is, if Josh Hokett takes down Curtis Blades, he's going to try and punch him as hard as he can in the face. And I just don't think that that is what Jailton Almeida does, right? Like, Jailton Almeida wants to hang on to you for dear life. And I think Josh Hokett has good cardio. Now, some of this is speculation by me because we haven't seen it against good guys. But against the absolute jabronis he was fighting early on, he did go to the 3rd round, and he did have cardio. He did get multiple takedowns in that fight. He was pushing the pace. And so it's like, I saw that before he was on Contender Series, and I was like, this guy's a prospect because most heavyweights don't have cardio. Most heavyweights can't wrestle worth their salt. And most guys, aren't very athletic in the traditional sense of like, look at their dynamic movement and their ability to get in and out and create angles and get off on different spots. And like Curtis Blaydes is a functional fighter. He will throw some meat hooks at you and he can get a takedown and he can push forward. But I think he's a lot more straight up meat and potatoes on a line. And I think that Josh Hokett's a lot more mobile and a lot quicker, and he can get in and get out and kind of touch you and go and move and go low and go high. And I just don't know that Curtis is going to want to do all that up down movement. I'll also tell you, dude, if I had just gotten my knee surgically repaired, the last guy I would want them to match me up with is a wrestler who's going to put my knee under stress probably early and often. It's like, I don't know that Hokett's going to try to wrestle here. I honestly don't, but I think he could. And I would also say, like, in my experience, and I see somebody in the chat saying 197 college should be light heavyweight. Kyle Snyder was a 197, and then he moved up to heavyweight, and he picked up all those guys and took them down because he had better wrestling skills than them, and he's still strong as shit, right? It's like, you don't pick people up at 197 because you're weak. You pick them up because you're strong. So I do think, like, I have, again, I've tried to make it clear. I have respect for Curtis Blaydes' skill set. But I just don't think Josh Hockett is like not able to compete in the heavyweight division, right? And if we find that out, hats off, right? And I will give Blaydes credit where it's due. But I think that Josh Hockett can win this fight via knockout. You know, the stats tell us he's a little bit more likely to win it by sub. I do think Curtis Blaydes is not a bad jiu-jitsu player. I don't think he's likely to get submitted in this fight. Way more opportunities. And then it's like, then you look at, okay, if this fight goes the distance, who do I think will have thrown more strikes? Who do I think will have gotten more takedowns? I think for me, it's a toss-up, and maybe I lean towards the Hockett side. So if that's going to be the case for me, Kuniev was not able to keep up on volume, but he was damaging Blaydes, and so people still thought he won the fight. I think Hockett could get ahead on damage. I think Hockett could get ahead on the strike count. I think Hockett could out-wrestle him. I'm buying into the potential of Josh Hockett here. So I thought he was the side at plus money because I think there's a chance that we watch this fight and he looks like a hindsight favorite. But if he comes out there and looks like a jabroni and gets silenced and gets knocked out, first of all, I'll have a bit of a laugh because I did think he had a grating personality and he kind of came in a little bit wild and off his britches. But I'll also say Josh Hockett does have real skills. He does have, in my opinion, a better wrestling and athletic pedigree than Curtis Blaydes. And I do think that this is all a gimmick for entertainment. And I don't think it's really who he is at all. So I just think Josh Hockett is kind of like a misunderstood guy who actually has some skills, but he's a cringe lord. And like, I don't give a shit if you're a cringe lord. I care if you can actually fight. I think he can fight. So I'm willing to find out, but respect to Curtis. So yeah, man, I think Hockett wins. And I think it's probably a KO or a decision more often than not. And I think the value is probably Hockett and Hockett decision. But if he knocks him out, I will not be surprised because he does swing heavy and he really believes in his offense. One of my favorite parts of this fight, Tim, is the fact that Josh Hockett quote tweeted the UFC saying, like, you don't want to wrestle with Curtis Blaydes. And he's like, yeah, we'll see. I just thought that was hilarious because I'm like, you can't say he doesn't believe in his, you know, maybe he's getting high on his own supply, but Josh Hockett is 100% confident in what he's doing inside the cage. And I think that could be to his benefit here. And we'll find out, man. What do you think?
Great breakdown. Yeah, I feel like this is you have predictive data on one of the fighters and you don't have a lot of predictive data on the other. So it's a pretty volatile fight from that standpoint. I don't know the cardio. You said you've seen the third round. I've seen, get to the second. I didn't see the fight. I didn't tape the fight where he got to the third round against the guy. I think he got the finish in that fight. But there's just a ton of question marks for me on Hockett. And the Gelton Almeida fight, I actually had I kind of read that one kind of perfectly. Like I had Blaydes round 2 KO and Blaydes round 3 KO in that one. And I kind of thought, we've seen Gelton give up in fights in the exact same way where he was able to start off early and didn't get his takedowns and then elbows and then he's done. It kind of went exactly the same way. I was just like, there's some quit in Jailton, and you saw that in the Kanaev fight as well, where he's just like, as soon as he didn't get his game off, as soon as he, got stuffed in the first couple takedowns, he's just like, all right, well, what the fuck now? And I thought Blades had the potential to, get taken down early like he did, and then just survive, and then see if he could put him on him in round 2 and round 3. I just don't think that this is a similar fight. I think that, you got one fighter that's got a dog in their chest, and you got Almeida who doesn't. And, this Hokit for me, whereas I say there's a bunch of question marks on him, I think his wrestling has been underrated. I think in this situation, like, people are kind of comparing, Blades' wrestling and trying to say, oh, Blades is one of the best, heavyweight wrestlers of all time. And it's just like, I'm not trying to shit on him, but like, he's fighting a D1 wrestler now. And I just like, there's higher levels to college wrestling. Like there's levels to this shit. And he's fighting a higher level wrestler, at least credentially, and what's on paper. And like, I know they need to, MMA wrestling is different, but, and then when you add the chin kind of concept for me, I think that's where I think I don't necessarily know the knockout. I lean more decision for Hokit. Like, I don't think that I don't think his power is like overwhelming striking, where the guys that Blades is getting knocked out by are the biggest punchers in, heavyweight history pretty much. And I think he's survived against bigger strikers, Jairzinho, Volkov, like he just bigger strikers have not knocked him out. So, and he's taken their shots and then continued. So for me, it's
I will note that the Volkov fight, like Dana White in the back was like, did you think that was a good performance? Because he looked so bad late in that fight and was like hanging on for dear life and getting out wrestled. Also, Jairzinho, he did swell up his eye. And it's a 30-27 with Blades looking like he was the victim of a violent crime and Jairzinho looking like he went for like a morning jog. It was crazy.
But yeah, you're right. But my point is actually kind of that. My point is that he took his shot. And I think Jairzinho is another guy that's like, it just hits way harder than Hokit. Now, if it's at this point, you get, all the damage and it's cumulative that he doesn't take it as well, fine. But like, I don't think that Hokit's like bringing out that type of power as like a Jairzinho or, the other fighters that have knocked him out. I had my head, what's his face? Pavlovich. I saw Pavlovich on the strip in Vegas, and he took a picture of his fist next to my head, and his fist was as big as my head. And it was just like, what the fuck? I can't imagine getting hit by this guy. It would literally explode my head like a grape.
Two toasters.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I actually I'm leaning on the this fight being like going to decision, and this is all if Hokit's game is legit in rounds 2 and 3 and he has the cardio. I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, if he doesn't have the cardio and he gets finished in 2 or 3, kind of like the Almeida fight. But I do agree with you. I think the fight goes more often than not, and I feel like it's closer on the striking, and I think the clinching and the wrestling, I think, is going to be close, but I think I slightly edge Hokit. And I think the pressure and the pressure, and that's going to get, this to be a close decision or Hokit by decision. So his decision's plus 550 and his split is plus 1600. And split is plus 600. I think that those are good looks in this fight. I took small stabs at those.
I like where your head's at, my man. I also wanted to just address in the chat. I see somebody says John Jones, JUCO champ. I am in no way discrediting Curtis Blades' wrestling credentials. I said slightly better pedigree, because 2-time All-American in the Division I level is very, very good. Like, make no mistake, that's extremely high level in terms of American wrestling standards. JUCO national champions get recruited to Division I institutions, right? Like, guys are looking to work with them. But Curtis went into fighting instead, right? Kind of like John, where he could have maybe tried to keep pursuing that. And he was a good high school wrestler in Illinois. Josh Hokit was a good high school wrestler in California. Those are both really good wrestling states. So I want to make sure both guys get their flowers. But I pointed out it's the fact that you got a guy who's 7 years younger, a little bit closer to his wrestling and athletic prime, right? Like, this guy was wrestling in college a lot more recently than Curtis Blades, who's been fighting a lot of guys that he could easily out wrestle. And I just think now we're going to see a stress test of Curtis's wrestling, which is often not the case. And for me, I just think Hoket is probably better than some people realize, because I've been watching him since he was a wrestler, just like Aaron Pico and these other guys, you know. So fired up to see both these guys get the chance to compete. Respect to both guys, but I'm going with Josh Hoket, even though he's a cringe lord. All right. Next up, guys. This one is a certified banger. Azmat Mirzakhanov, undefeated fighter. I bet him against Tafon Chukwi, -143, Tim. I never bet him again since. I was like, we got away with one, and we'll take the money and run, brother.
I had Tafon by points. I had Tafon points. PTSD, dude. 5-1, +500. Gross.
That is an absolutely brutal run out, my man. If it makes you feel better, I had Paulo Costa +2XX against Whitaker, and he bag fumbled for me. And I had him +2XX against who else was it? Kind of recently. I can't even remember off the top of my head. He crashed for me. But then against Roman Kopylov, I was like, Liam, the definition of insanity is betting Costa at +2XX and just him losing you money every time. And he finally broke through, Tim. He got the win. He got the dub. He bit down on his mouthpiece, came forward, kept pushing the issue, and that was awesome. Now, we're not seeing quite +200. It was Sean. Thank you. Yes, it was Sean. Good call, and I appreciate you for the support. But I'm looking at Apollo Costa here, who is probably coming off, in my opinion, Tim, the second best performance of his professional mixed martial arts career, because he fought Yoel Romero, and Yoel Romero at the time was at the peak of his powers, where he hit people and they would die, and he just had crazy power. He could wrestle his ass off, just didn't do it because he likes knocking people silly. So, like, this was Yoel Romero, and Paulo went out there and had a fight of the night banger with him, close fight, but Paulo just outworked him, and they both dropped each other. And then Paulo fights Izzy and gets knocked down, knocked out, embarrassed, looked like shit. And you were just like, man, maybe this guy's not really about it, right? You look at, okay, where did we see Paulo in subsequent years, man? He fought some of the upper echelon guys, and normally he gave him an honest fight, and he came up blacking, right? Against Robert Whitaker, he nearly decapitated the man with a spinning kick to the head. Wasn't able to close the show. And then it goes back to Robert just being a little bit better, a little bit ahead of him in terms of, hey, I'm a better fighter by a couple margins. And I think Mirzakhanov is a good fighter. I think that, you know, you don't get 7 knockdowns in a row in the UFC by accident, right? From the Contender Series all the way on up, this guy knocks people down. He's got real power. He hits hard. He believes in his offense. And when he finds that moment to land, it normally is lights out. It's normally curtains. Paulo Costa's only been knocked down twice, and the guys that knocked him down are, you know, Yoel Romero at the peak of his powers, Israel Adesanya at the peak of his powers. Those are 2 good fighters, man. Those are guys that could kind of knock down anybody, right? And when you look, Tafon Chukwi, right, kind of just did things. Like, I'm going to throw things. I'm going to attempt something. I might even wrestle a little bit. Like, you don't know what's coming next for me. And Mirzakhanov was getting touched a little bit, and he was getting a little bit behind on the strike count. And then he's able to, boom, catch him and knock him out. So you just get the win, right? And you move on. But it did leave that lingering doubt in my mind. Like, what happens if this guy gets extended? What happens if this guy gets behind on the strike count and can't knock somebody out? Dustin Jacoby, he won that fight by landing the more meaningful strikes, by hurting him badly there. But then he had bad visuals late, and he was starting to let it slip out of his hands, and he needed to get to that final bell. And I just feel like Paulo Costa, you know, again, one of these fights where you talk about maybe a better live entry than pre, because if you bet it live, you avoid the chance of Paulo doing the, you know, snoring in the first round bit, because this guy really does hit that hard. But if he doesn't knock out Costa's a guy that is very consistent to bring the pace, bring the aggression, bring the energy for 15 minutes, right? He's fought 25 before, full 25, and done the damn thing, right? At light heavyweight, he did it once. And it's just like, now we see a 15-minute fight against a guy who fights once a year, and he's getting up there in age. And despite being the natural light heavyweight, he's the smaller guy physically and in appearance, and probably has slightly less muscle just in terms of how these guys carry their frame. It's a weird fight where I think Mirzakhanov is more skilled at fighting. Like, he's a combat Sambo guy. His background is really deep and good. and he has real skills and he's got power. But Paulo Costa just knows what he's good at, which is being tough, being big, being strong, and then pushing guys backwards off the line they want to be on, throwing big kicks, hurting them, and trying to take their energy away. And I think that he can do that to Murzakanov. So I think the fight is a little bit more honest than the price would entail. I think Murzakanov is a deserved favorite here because it's his weight class and his knockdown streak is undeniable. But I think that, for me, it's like minus 125. It's maybe minus 150 Murzakanov. It's not minus 2XX for me on Murzakanov because, again, if it's 2 rounds down, and Murzakanov needs a KO in round 3 to win, it's like, good luck. Like, I just feel like Paulo's probably the better conditioned athlete of these two guys. So I feel like he's probably going to need to front load that knockout more often than not to justify this price tag. So maybe a little bit pre on Paulo, and then you hope to live him at a better price after one and hope that he goes out there and kind of turns the tide on a guy, turns up the energy and the pace and aggression. I think he's capable of doing that. But even in this most recent fight where Murzakanov wins, what did he land? Like 3 strikes? I like the one that he landed, like killed the guy. God bless you. But it's like the dude's just waiting and waiting and waiting. And it's like when he lands, it's sick. But it's like I was sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting as Tafon is just touching him and just doing a little bit more. And Paulo just goes a lot on the strikes, right? He lands a lot of strikes. So if Murzakonov's not going to match him there, he's going to give Paulo opportunities. And, Paulo's a guy that, again, the crowd, I think, is going to be behind him. I think they're going to be wanting him to get this decision as well. So I think Paulo 2-3 decision is kind of like the angle. Shout out to my guy, Jewish Better in the chat. What do you think about this one, Tim? Do you see any chance that the eraser Bohashinya, a man of many nicknames, is able to come through and get it done, or does the professional dummy him up here? What do you think?
Yeah, dude, it's all about the secret juice this week for me. I did the opposite that with you with Murzakanov. I tried to fade him early with Tafon and then lost that 5-1 decision prop in round 3, being up 2-0. And then I bought onto him for like 4 out of his next 5 fights. I tried to fade him with Jacoby because I thought Jacoby could do the same thing but better than what Tafon did. And I thought honestly in the second round Jacoby was winning, and then he got hurt and then lost that round because of that. And then round 3 was just like, for some reason he puts him on like stilts, and he just goes for grappling for some reason and lets him off the hook. So that was painful. But every other fight I've kind of, it's like the guys that he's fighting, it's like Ribeiro, Menefield, Clark, like these guys are just like, they're just sitting ducks for him. And usually Murzakanov is also, even though he's low volume, like he's got massive hands and massive power clearly, but he also usually has a massive speed advantage on these light heavyweights. And I think that you get Costa coming up now from, 185, and it obviously he's 20 pounds heavier, but I think he's used to fighting guys that have that type of speed, and he's used to seeing that type of speed and or faster and being able to react to that. So it's always interesting when you either get like guys that usually win because of their speed or guys that usually win because of their length, not having that advantage and seeing how they react. So for me, it's like, I like Paulo to win a decision here. It's like plus 550, plus like 1400 for him to win a split. I think the plus 550 is really good on decision for Paulo. I think he might be able to get him out of there late, but I kind of think it's just kind of doing the same things that he just did to Kopylov, who's also a very, very good striker, and he just made him look silly last fight. So yeah, I like the decision prop for Paulo Costa, and money line wise, I think it's better to wait live. Like you said, I agree with that it's too easy to get nuked early versus Murzakanov, and you might as well just wait and see if he's going low volume again, and see after the first round or so, or see how it's going. And after you get that, you'll probably, maybe the line's a little worse if he hasn't finished him and Paulo's having some success, but at least you've seen it at that point. I
love it. Let's go ahead and get some Miami vibes for Paulo Costa. He just feels like a guy who should be winning in Miami, and I think he's going to do just that. So let's go for that. Next up, my brother, the piece de resistance. We were supposed to have a flyweight title fight. We were supposed to talk about my guy Tatsuro Taira, but unfortunately, not going to be able to do that. So only one half of the Japanese contingency can come here and fight. And his name is Jiri Prochazka. Y'all must have forgot. He was the Ryzen champ. He was the UFC champ. This guy's done it all, seen it all, been there everywhere. I freaking love Jiri Prochazka. 10-unit max bet against Glover Teixeira. The most legendary minus EV cash of my life. Minus 200, worst bet of all time. Still green. That's Jiri. And if you look at how Jiri fights, man, every time he's fighting, for the most part, it looks horrible right up until the point where he wins. And that's what makes him so special, dude. The guy just stays in the fire, stays in the storm, takes the ass whooping up front, and gives it right back. And there's been many guys that have been put, on the milk carton by Jiri, right? Like, you look back at that initial fight he had, and Volkan Ozdemir was landed. He was having success. He was touching. And then Yuri's like, oh, you want to fight with me? You want to touch me on my face? Hold these. Bing, bing. And he just starts swinging through the matrix on this guy. And I feel like we've seen Jiri go through these iterations of all right, he's going to try and be more technical. He's going to try and do things this way. His last fight against Khalil Rountree, he looked like a novice. Like, he literally didn't know how to fight at all. He's just standing there taking the ass whooping. And I was like, did this guy forget how to fight because he went to college? Like, I had to ask myself that question in sincerity. And then all of a sudden in round 3, he just forces the guy to capitulate. And he's like, yeah, you guys overthink this fighting stuff. Like, you just wait for them to give up and then you go beat them. All right, it keeps working, so keep doing it. On the other side, Ulberg is not like that at all, right? He wants to be a lot more technical. He wants to be the guy who's a slickster and doing things right. And he also is a guy that can really be a sniper and be technical. And I look back at the Nikolai Negumerianu fight. I had the KO 1 plus 575. Whoo! He smoked that dude. Like, hands here, there, boom, and just sends him flying. Like, Ulberg, when he delivers, he's got an offensive efficiency, a mechanical efficiency to the way he knocks guys out, to the way he throws that left hook in particular. But he's got a couple of different strikes he can use. I just think that his game is a lot more standard, a lot more basic, and in some ways more predictable because you know what he wants to do, which is touch, use his hands. I think that Jiri has a submission win over a legit black belt. And Carlos Ulberg has one submission in his career against a 500 UFC fighter who was death gassed in the 3rd round and is not very good. And so it's just like, I think Jiri is a little bit more dangerous in more places. I think he's dangerous in more rounds. I think he's dangerous in more situations and positions. So I feel like that's why I'm leaning towards Jiri as my pick to win this fight. But Tim, the thing that I am much more bullish on personally is this fight going under 3.5 rounds. Like, is it possible that this fight goes? Sure. Anything's possible. Is it likely? I would say no, because when you don't have defense at light heavyweight, you're asking to be knocked out. We've seen Jiri knocked out against Dom Reyes, still won the fight. That's just shit he does. But, like, he was unconscious in that fight. He was hurt badly in several other fights, right? Like, landed on big, like, absorbing big shots, and then just goes and just comes back and does it anyway. But you can't do that forever. At 33, I think he's still got one more in him. But I just think we can't be altogether stunned if, like, one punch from Ulberg and he's just asleep. Like, Ulberg hits like that, and Yuri's going to give him chances. But Jiri, by presenting constantly, some guys, the reason I tell my wrestlers forward is because some guys break because they get tired. Other guys break because you make them make 5 decisions in a row. And now their brain is getting tired and they're getting overwhelmed and they don't want to think anymore. I feel like Jiri, by constantly being in guys' faces, making them do something, making them hit me, it's like, go again, come and do something again. And as you're throwing your hardest shots, you're doing your best work. And this guy's just like no selling it, like, come on, hit me again. That breaks people mentally and they give up. And I don't think that Ulberg at any time was worse than Kennedy and Nzechukwu. I believe his team was asked who he wanted to fight for his UFC debut, And like, they were like, is Nzechukwu cool? He's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to smoke this guy. And he's out there just boom, landing any shot that he wants. And at a certain point, Nzechukwu was just like leaning against the fence, like covering up, getting hit. And he just was like, fuck this. And just like pushes forward with a bull guard, like Nate Diaz. And just like, all of a sudden, Ulberg starts backing up. And he's like, wait, I didn't agree to this. You were supposed to back up. And it's like, I flipped the arrangement on you, buddy. Yeah, you were hitting me before. Now I'm hitting you. And it seemed like he didn't want to give the other guy his turn. You look at when Jiri beats people, there is no question afterwards about who is the winner, right? Like, yeah, Jiri might lose minutes and moments. You walk away every time like, oh yeah, Jiri just killed that guy. He don't want to be here no more. Like, it's over. That's what Jiri does. 32 out of 33 wins as a professional inside the distance. He finishes people. He puts them away. Ulberg leaves it in the hands of the judges sometimes, toss up, close fight. Jiri doesn't know a close fight. He's like, the fight's close until I win. That's the way I fight. I fight, however many minutes you want until I beat you. And that's it. I'm going home with my hand raised. That's the way Jiri fights. So I admire him as a martial artist. I think the guy's awesome. I think Ulberg is a better technical fighter, but I do not think he is a warrior in the same way that Jiri is, just straight up. So I feel like it's a aura and, heart and toughness and maybe having more paths against being the better fighter early. And for me, give me the tougher guy who's going to sustain through anything. Like if Jiri gets knocked out, the fight may not be over. But if Ulberg gets knocked out, the fight's over. It's just like that for me is the difference between these two guys. Jiri wakes up from being submitted, wakes up from being knocked out, and keeps fighting. He's just that guy. So I like the under, man. Under 3.5, minus 190, I believe the price was. Sign me up, brother. I'd rather have that than lay, again, like I said, slight chalk on either one of these guys because I could see either one of them getting it done. And I think more often than not, it's going to be in that under 3.5 category. If you wanted to have a little insurance there, I would look for Jiri 4 and Jiri 5 as the backup there because I'd be kind of surprised if Ulberg was having success later on in this fight. We haven't seen him go 5 rounds. And when somebody's pressuring you like Jiri pressures you, I just don't think that's going to work out for you in the back half of that fight. So, yeah, man, that's the way I see it. Awesome main event. Fired up for it. What do you got, Tim? Am I out to lunch here? Is the pick to click the split decision on this one? What do you think, man?
Yeah, dude. I feel like I'm 1000% on an island on this fight, but the logical part of my brain agrees with pretty much everything that you just said. There's certain parts where I would kind of not disagree, but say I don't think there's a lot of predictive data minus the Kennedy fight on like cardio and saying like it wouldn't shock me if Carlos can fight 5 rounds. Like he might be able to, but he might not be able to. We just haven't seen it. So I don't think there's predictive data on that. He obviously fighting 5 rounds versus a normal human being and fighting 5 rounds versus Jiri is like galactical differences. So that's where I agree with you. But I think it's possible that he may have the cardio to be able to actually fight his style and fight at range and try to make it a clean fight. The other part where I think it's kind of tough is like Yuri's been losing until losing until he wins in so many of these fights. And I think like whatchamacallit, who was his last fight?
Khalil.
Yeah, Khalil. Thank you. Yeah, Khalil.
Yeah, I was going to say in order.
Yeah, the Roundtree fight for me was like everything that Roundtree does, Carlos Ulberg can do. Every attack that he comes at him with, and the only difference is that Ulberg is more athletic and more defensively responsible. And like I just think like that fight in moments where Jiri went at Khalil just had absolutely no like I'm not going to defend at all here. I'm going to actually try to stay here and wing some shots, and maybe I connect, and it just got lit up. And I don't think that Carlos is like, maybe he, like you're saying, maybe either one of these guys, if either one of these guys finish each other early and Carlos counters him and knocks him out where Yuri's been getting hurt, Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked by that. And I wouldn't be shocked if Jiri probably, it's like, I would think that he finishes him a little bit later on, as if there is, gas issues or cardio issues. But I just don't know that I think like ever since Carlos did the Kennedy fight, like he hasn't blown his load in any fight. Like he brought Fradio Charant to a decision. Like he literally carried him.
That's what I mean though, is like, I don't know that he has gotten the right balance, right? Like he has went from like doing too much because there was too much opportunity. Like it was like biting off more than you could chew, right? Like, oh, it's free, I'm just going to keep hitting him. And then he's like, fuck, there's just 7 minutes left and he's still here. And I feel like since then, he just hasn't committed to his aggression as much. It's like either I knock you out with one of these pretty counters or like I'm not going to throw. And Jiri just offers you the target saying like, you're going to throw. Like, yeah, you think you're not going to throw? Throw again. Like you're going to throw.
Yeah, I agree with. And I think like that's the fights where he's getting early KOs, or the guys like Menefield just running straight at him, and Negamariano, like you're talking about, where like these guys are just coming straight forward and being defensively irresponsible. And Nikolai's like, he usually relies on his chin, and then he just is like, well, hey, go ahead and try to rely on that. But it like Ozdemir fight, Jan Blachowicz fight, he's just staying at range because both these guys can hit hard and can finish. Like, so it's just, I think he tends to fight that way. And then Fradio Charant, he could have emptied the tank against him and he had absolutely zero threat, and he just brought him to the decision and carried him to the decision. So like, I feel like that's something that, if you're saying this fight goes to decision, or if you're saying like, hey, you're getting, first 3 rounds and Carlos doesn't gas out, like I could see him winning a decision. It's totally, contrarian take, but like I could see him winning a decision in this fight and being up 3 rounds, or being up, 3 of the first 4 rounds, and then surviving, and or just not allowing Jiri to get, just defensively, trying to be defensively responsible and just avoid what he's doing and take your shots when you have them, and pretty much just skating around and doing what he's done in other fights, and winning some close rounds like he did with Ozdemir, winning some close rounds like he did with Jan, and scraping it out. Like I do agree with you that it's more likely to me that it finishes, but the predictive data side on Carlos, not seeing him in 5 rounds, not seeing him in these types of fights, really, I think it's just it to me, I think there's potential value on him by decision, but I think I'm pretty much gonna just kind of watch it and see how it goes a little bit in round 1 and early, and not take a stab on anybody. I do like your 4-5, your 3-4-5 for Jiri. I do feel like if he does KO him, I think it's more later than earlier. I think that Ulberg early is going to try to avoid it as much as he possibly can, unless he knocks him out himself. So, but yeah, I'm kind of on an island this week with Ulberg by decision. There's always one fight, and this is what I said with the Reyes and Walker fight. Like there's always at least one fight that's like a -500 goes to, doesn't go, that goes almost every card. And it's just, or higher, that you're just like, oh man, I can't believe this fight went. And you're just like, yeah, it happens every single card. And on these pay-per-view, numbered cards, it happens even more with the bigger cages. So yeah, I'll be on an island this week. I don't care if I'm wrong. It's all right.
Yeah, dude, last week I was looking at the main event and I was like, man, I just feel like this under 2.5 is good. But then I was like, I don't know, we got 5 rounds to work with and whatever. And then they were out there and I was like, this should have been a max bet on the fucking under 2.5. What am I doing? And I feel like in this one, I'm like, I always like to paint the contrarian case and everything. And I do think, like, to your point, like Jiri winning a decision here doesn't make much sense to me. Just because like the way Jiri fights, like he's never won a minute of a fight. He just wins the fight overall in one exchange. Like that's how he does it. And that for me is like, hey, if you want to say like Ulberg skirting and doing that, I just think it'll be like a feat and a negative feat. If Ulberg has 25 minutes of opportunities with this guy who just is like, I've never met a strikeout wanted to defend. Like, hit me again. If he can't put him away like that, it's just like, we got to pick a new sport, buddy. Like, dude, let's get him a baseball bat. Let's get him a weapon or something. Can we put brass knuckles or, But I just feel like if you have 25 minutes of trying to attack Jiri and you're a professional kickboxer, either you put him away or you get finished trying. Like, otherwise, you got to live in shame. So
Yeah,
let's find out, man. If he lives
first,
in shame, you cash a big ticket, and that's more important.
I could see Dana too if he does do exactly that. And he skirts away for 25 and doesn't make it an exciting fight with Jiri. That after he wins the title, I could see Dana doing an interim title and just taking it away from him and be like, "Sorry, man, we appreciate you. The PFL, or they're gonna take you on. Go to Cage Warriors. Enjoy yourself."
It's Blachowicz and Ankalaev all over again. Dana will have announced the next fight before the other two guys have even gotten in the car ride to go home. So, my man, I want to say huge thank you to you for coming on. Guys, if you've never done a show like this, it takes energy. You're here, you're talking, you're having fun. But my guy was just on the Lambo Plays podcast, one of the very best shows in the space as well. Shout out to Narco Cop. Guys, to do two shows like that back to back, that is what we call soldier hours in this industry, and nobody better than my guy, Timothy Troiano. Thank you so much for being here, brother. The floor is yours. Anything you want to say, anything you want to get off your chest, anything you got for the people, my man, it's been a pleasure.
No, man, appreciate the chat. Appreciate you guys coming out here late, chopping it up with us. Really, as always, dude, I've been in this game a little, 5 years now. I've learned tons from you. I appreciate chopping it up with you and breaking these fights down and seeing it from a different lens, and just trying to get better week in and week out, man. It's been a blast doing it the last 5 years.
Absolutely, brother. I got some wisdom from a wrestling coach of mine in college. He said, note takers are money makers. Readers are leaders. My brother, your network is your net worth. It's been a pleasure knowing you for all these years, my man. I learned from you just as well. So thank you for coming on the show, man. Thank you for sharing all your takes. I got to get active on listening back, doing the timestamps and being like, oh, me and Tim agreed on this one. We move that up to the green pile, and get after some of these bets, man. I only got a couple bets on the card so far, but I got a lot of ideas. And now I'm even more dialed in to go exploit these markets. So shout out to you, my brother. Appreciate everybody who's rocking with us live. We still got 91 heads in here. It is 2:18 local time. So God bless each and every one of you guys. Thank you all for the support. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Come back next week. We're having all the same fun again. And let's go for that. Take care, everybody.